to another Sapphic Lit author pop-up interview. Tonight we have Michelle Axelson, the owner of Women Crafts in Provincetown. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Felice?
I'm great. I'm so excited to speak with you. You know, I love you. I've
I
been to
love.
your shop a million times,
Yeah.
even years ago before I even knew you. I think before you probably even definitely long before you owned it.
Yeah.
When did you take it over?
I bought it in 2015. I started working here in 2011, but I bought it in 2015.
Wow. And just because you wanted to, they were looking to sell or?
They they weren't actively looking like they wouldn't have sold to a stranger, but because I had worked with them, I think it allowed them probably to retire earlier than they would have if there wasn't a natural person to step in. And so they kind of trained me and got me used to it and facilitated, a friendly transfer in the family.
That's awesome. And what has been your mission with the bookstore? I mean, it's mostly a bookstore, I'd say.
Yeah.
And because I mean, it really is such a champion for Sapphic literature.
Yeah, when they started in 1976 and through to today, I think of it as a bookstore that is supported by other arts made by women. And the goal was always to feature and focus on the underdog, the people who aren't given a book facing out, who aren't given great publishing deals, who aren't reviewed as frequently, which, as we know, is women. And as we know more, increasingly women of color, women, any other intersectional difference. And so I think of it as, a goal from 1976 was equality and equal space and a gallery in Provincetown that represents women. And I always say, like, if our mission was achieved, we wouldn't need to exist. But the fact that when I came and started hanging out in the store, and there were old bumper stickers saying read banned books and keep abortion legal, the fact that that is still relevant today means the store is relevant. But since the 70s, they were carrying, the few books you could find written about, lesbian love stories and increasingly, certainly we now have a whole shop of that, but it made it a one place where we could see ourselves represented on the shelves, and that remains true even though you can buy all of these books online. And I hope for a kid in North Dakota that doesn't have access to anybody else, awesome, please find books in the community online, but nothing replaces a brick and mortar space where not only are the books representing you, but so is the art, so are the people working here, so is the community that hangs out here. So hand in hand with the mission of the store is, like my personal mission and goals for, the space as a community gathering space, as an activism generator, and yeah, that all kind of seems to play off each other naturally.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned community space because it is a huge community space. I've been to events at your shop in the off season and
Yeah.
there were 40 women there. I mean, it
Yeah.
was amazing. And it was
Yeah.
just, you go there and you walk in and you're just like, you just talk to people and you start meeting people. And,
Yeah.
I think people, it's become a destination
Absolutely.
for a lot of people. And I know you do events on the
Yeah.
stoop. You
Yep.
want to tell a little about that?
Sure, we do what's called the Friday Night Feminist Front Stoop Reading. And that was started by absolute hero of mine, Urvashi Vad, and her wife, Kate Clinton. Urvashi passed away 3 years ago. And she was, I think, the leading LGBTQ activist of my time. Certainly worked closely with ACT UP and LPAC and so many other organizations fighting for our rights, and also a brilliant scholar and author and a speechwriter. And so her and her wife and a group of friends, noticed the vibe in Provincetown is as the night gets later, women go in and men come out and they cruise each other. And Spiritus Pizza, which is the place that's famous for that. They call it the meat rack. People would sit there and look for their last chance of the night. And so, like, as a joke, because Urvashi, as serious and scholarly and impassioned as she was, she's also really funny and loved to dance and loved music. So they started this feminist Friday night reading, and with a bullhorn would read like Sapphic literature, feminist poetry to interrupt kind of and take up space, which I loved. And when she passed away, another art gallery who was owned by a really good friend of hers, did a one-off event. And I thought, why does this have to be a one-time thing? This is beautiful. And our front stoop is like a stage. And I know so many women writers and people in the community and people who are writing in the off season. And then luckily, a community of authors have become my friend. And when you're all in town, you can read. So we do it every Friday night, and people share, something that they're working on or their favorite piece of literature. I most often read kind of older Sapphic prose or poetry and speeches.
It's been great. I mean, I remember last year at Women's Week, they were just packed.
Yeah.
You just couldn't get through the street down
Yeah.
Commercial Street. It was packed, and it was
Yeah.
just such a nice thing. And I know you just won some huge award. Want to
That's
tell?
huge award. I won a what might be called a joke award that actually has been very kind and a gift. It's called the Las Culturistas Award from Bowen Yang and Matt Rogers podcast. And it is the Jamie Lee Curtis Award for gusto, individuality, and enthusiasm. And I won against Lady Gaga and Benson Boone. But they had this whole show on Bravo that, was making fun of award shows and making fun of like what matters now. Another fun fact, a lesbian sapphic writer, Sarah Schulman won an award for best title of a book, and her book that's, quite a bit older now, Conflict is Not Abuse, just to point out like you don't have to give an award based on the year. And just like when I sell books, it doesn't matter if your book was published this year or not, it's still relevant. And particularly people coming out or coming to feminism, we all arrive there at different moments and not just having, okay, screw that, that's done. Everybody read that. When I first started working here and I would ask for specific titles, the previous owners were like, I think everybody's read that. I'm like, who's everybody?
Right.
The young girl or the new 70-year-old who's just coming into her own, yeah, needs to see some of these titles. Anyway, so the award was just this silly thing, but in the journey, and I had met Matt and Bowen before, Bowen Yang from Saturday Night Live. Like they come to P-Town and they liked us and they liked the shop. But this like silly little thing was just like this effort of kindness to a small business. And it really brought in like their gay male fans who come to Provincetown and new followers online, and why I appreciate it all the more. I know one of the people that Bowen wrote with the most on SNL, who is actually not there anymore, is a non-binary lesbian. And so the voice of the show for me was very feminist, very dykey, and we fit right in. And so this thing that was a joke for me is like so sweet and kind, and something that in a land of like being gay male comics, they don't have to give any attention to lesbians, but they recognize and appreciate what we're doing here and why we've been here for 50 years.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. And I think you deserve it because, you are championing so many lesbian writers and sapphic writers. And, you don't have to do these things, but you hold all these events. And it's really been a wonderful, for me, an outlet to go to. And, we're doing all these events at your place and, you champion a lot of authors. So that's why we wanted to highlight you with our interview. So thank you again. And if people want to go, they can go to the website, they can go to the store. It's right on Commercial Street, right
Yeah.
downtown, or it's womencrafts.com, right?
Womencraftsptown.com.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Felice.
All right, I'll see you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.